Hello everybody, welcome to Science, Technology and History Explained. Today we're continuing our look into how electricity and energy works. How does wind power work is the topic of this video. Let's get started. So looking very briefly at the wind power basics, if you followed some of my other videos, typically thermal power plants that produce electricity. Typically, they use some kind of fuel or some kind of heat to boil water to steam. The steam drives a steam turbine, and the steam turbine's rotational force rotates a generator, electrical generator that makes AC AC electrical power, and this you typically have some big power plants doing this work. But wind power is on paper much more simple. We have wind with kinetic energy. We are gathering it in a mill that spins around, and this rotational spin is transferred directly the mechanical power. There is no water or anything else here. It's transmitted to the generator that produces electrical current. But there are also some differences. For example, if we look at for example, steam turbines, they're typically operating at high RPMs. This fast rotation makes the alternating current 50 to 60 hertz. This is typically the grids are used. For example, 50 hertz is typically in the Europe, and 60 hertz is in the frequency of the current in the US. But with 10 to 20 RPMs, we have to do something a bit different to create the AC voltage, and as you can imagine, you need a little bit more to work on the electrical power here to put it on the grid where the rest of the electricity is. So looking a little bit inside a wind turbine, we have of course the blades that aerodynamically catch the wind, the kinetic energy of the wind. And normally the blades are catching around 40 to 50% of the wind kinetic energy. It's not possible to go above a certain number. You can't, for example, capture all the kinetic energy of the wind. Then basically the wind would be stopping on the blades, and this is not possible. There is a theoretical limit. And then also it depends on the wind speed. If you have very low wind speeds, it's not really practical to even turn the turbine. And if it's very high wind speeds, you need to stop. There are some ways to decouple. So you stop it and you break it so it doesn't break and your blades are not destroyed. And typically from this quite slow rotation that we have from the wind here, we have some gearbox to rev up the rotations for a generator. And this is so that the electrical generator gets into more efficient region of operation. And the electricity that is generating, because the wind here fluctuates and the spin of the blades are not the same with time, we get some varying frequency of the current coming out. So there is a DC converter that takes alternating current to DC power and then back to AC again in transformers and converters that can be 50 to 60 hertz depending on the grid, and then it could be supplied to the grid. So you need to do something with the electricity. Typically some substations on the wind farms are doing this and can send the electricity to the grid. And if we look at the typical wind turbines, we have the onshore variety that we can see around the fields scattered. The typical sizes here are 3 to 5 megawatt nominal capacity here. And the capacity factor we have to take into account in the wind that it's not always windy and it's not always optimal wind and so on. So if you look over a year for onshore sites, depending of course on the specific site, maybe 25 to 40%. If you can't operate them, let's say they are not operating to 100% capacity over a whole year, maybe it becomes 25 to 40% capacity from the nominal capacity. But still, if you have enough wind turbines, you will be able to produce quite a lot of energy over the year. If we look at offshore, where we have typically larger wind turbines, here the typical sizes are 10 to 15 megawatts. I checked the largest one is a Chinese 26 megawatt wind turbine, and offshore has a higher capacity factor. The The winds on the sea and the oceans are a bit more predictable and a bit stronger, so therefore you get, let's say, 35 to 50% capacity factor over the year. If we look at the electricity production in the world, we have this is data open source from Our World in Data, which is an excellent site to gather information about this type of subjects. If we look at the electricity production in the world from 2000 to 2025, we see that around the beginning of the 2000s, we are starting to get some wind power. And if we look worldwide, currently it's around 9 to 10% of all the electricity comes from wind. Starting to come close to the nuclear power, actually. And together with solar, this has been the increase of electricity over the last, let's say, at least 10-15 years here. But of course, there is a lot of regional variations. For example, on the forefront that has a lot of wind, the country where I live in Denmark, starting at the year 2000, 10% of the electricity was wind, and now it's over 50. It was 60% of the wind of the electricity produced in Denmark in 2025 came from wind. We see also solar increasing for multiple countries. If we look at, let's say, the world, as we said, around 10%. China is also coming higher, 20% here. European Union, I meant, and then if we see, for example, coal decreasing and different powers have different, let's say, regional contributions to the electricity, but wind is increasing, and in some regions it's really used a lot. But could potentially wind provide all the electricity we need? And here I need to get back to the peak power, and the capacity is not always the same as electricity. So in my opinion, as the things stand right now, wind alone cannot stand for generating all the electricity that we need. For example, here exemplified by the example of Denmark, average demand of electricity over the full year in Denmark, let's say 4.6 gigawatts. But for some periods in the middle of the night, in summer, for example, there is very little demand. And sometimes in peak power, where everybody is making their dinner, it's winter, it's really cold, you're using much higher electricity. And if you need all this power on a day where it's not really windy, you can't just have blackouts. You need something else to provide the power, or you need that you have some storage for the electricity. You need big batteries or power to X, or pumping something up, some water that you can create an electricity when it's not windy. But in any case, as it stands today, some other plants, for example, in Denmark, there are biomass waste thermal plants. There is also solar to complement the wind. There is some coal. There is some natural gas, especially as we saw for turbine video, that is used to cover peak power and other sources. And if we look, for example, over a year here, winter, we have wind. It has a strong amount. Solar has been powering, is more efficient, of course, during summertime, but we need something more in the winter months, especially to cover the needs. And when it's not windy, we need something else, because today we don't have the storage capacity built. Looking to pros and cons of wind power, I think, of course, one of the big pros of wind power is that there's no CO2, no fossil fuels emitted or produced during operation. There is a quick break even around 6 months or 1 year operation for wind turbines, so that all the materials, everything that the CO2 to produce a wind turbine, after 6 months, around 1 year, depending on the site, etc., it's a payback, and then basically you are gaining that no CO2 is emitted. It's a cheap source of electricity. When it's windy, you have a lot of power, and it has decreased the price of electricity. Of course, there is some energy independence. If you look at geopolitically, you don't have to import fossil fuels from certain straits and areas, and you have the wind in your shores, for example, and the offshore wind doesn't really impact a lot the people. There is no visual, let's say, a lot of people don't like to see the fields and see the wind turbines, but offshore they are out of the way. There is no noise. There is no taking use of land space for the wind turbines. Of course, the cons of wind power, it is, as I said, an intermittent source of electricity. It's not like if we need much more electricity at a certain point, we just can't say, okay, let's crank up all the turbines, because it's depending on the wind turbines. The onshore has resistance to build big wind farms on land. A lot of people are protesting against it. And basically, as we are putting a lot of small, let's say, wind turbines, it's more difficult to stabilize the electrical grid. Typically, if you have big nuclear power plants, coal power plants, those generators are running very stable and producing the correct frequency of electricity. If you don't have those, it's more difficult with all these small generators producing electricity to stabilize the grid. So this concludes the video, and in the series of energy, I've done quite a lot of videos now. There is the coal video that explains how thermal electricity production work, and steam turbines, etc. That how natural gas works, for example, for peak power with gas turbines. This is my most popular video for some reason. And then also, for example, how nuclear power works, and is there some possibility to do fusion in the future that would solve a lot of problems on Earth. And then my first video in this channel, the energy in our world, looking at the giant increase of energy demand of the world, and how have we been able to cover it. So if you want, take a look at some of these other videos. So this concludes everything here, science, technology, and history explained. I hope you enjoyed the look in for wind turbines. Let me know in the comments if you have some further questions or comments, or something else you want to see in the video. And with these words, we are signing out. Stay safe out there, and bye-bye.